I'd also like to welcome you to this conference. It is a conference of some significance, least of all to the university.
Our gathering here today is intended really to do two things. The first is to inaugurate the chair in a sense, to give it a public profile. And then secondly, we need to commemorate the memory of Judge Anton Mostert, after whom the chair has been named. And those are the two points really that the faculty has with this gathering, apart from the exchange of ideas and knowledge that will invariably take place. Now, Judge Mostert is an iconic figure, and he remains so. He's a jurist of the highest talent, was still known for his unwavering commitment to the pursuit of truth, justice, and public interest. At a critical juncture in the history of this country, he took a stand, and that remains very relevant, highly relevant still in the times that we live in today. So it's highly appropriate that we should have thought of naming the chair after Judge Mostert. The faculty is fully aligned with the values that he espoused in his life, the qualities of commitment to truth, justice, and to stand up for principle. And we trust that those principles, those qualities will guide and inspire the chair in its activities.
Now, the core business of this university and of any university that needs to be called a university is knowledge. We need to create new knowledge through research. We have to, in fact, imagine the horizons of the possibility and bring them into the presence through our research. We have to take that knowledge and transfer it through teaching. And we have to ensure that our teaching is continually enriched by what we find in research. But very importantly, it's the task of every university to engage with our immediate environment, to use this knowledge to enrich our industry, to add value in our communities, and to assist the state in making a legislative framework which serves the country. So the creation of new knowledge, the transfer of knowledge, and the application of knowledge is in essence what we do as a university. And one must recognize that universities are one of the few autonomous spaces left in the world, but paradoxically we can only maintain that space of autonomy if we have a value proposition for our surroundings, if the community recognizes that a university actually adds value to the community in which we're embedded. And in this way, we have, as the credo of the university, the very strong DNA, essentially, of putting knowledge to the benefit of the citizens and the environment in which they live. And this is the essence and the core of the university's project, the academic project, known generally under the banner of the Hope Project.
It is a great honor to have the new chair at the University of Stellenbosch, named after my late father. It is indeed the greatest gift I've ever received, to which I will revert a little later. Sometimes a person becomes defined by one act of courage, one big event. To a certain extent, this is what happened to my father. When people hear the name Anton Mostert in South Africa, the words information scandal inevitably follow. It is true that this particular chapter in his life was a momentous one. His actions taking place against the backdrop of a South Africa which was tearing itself apart politically would necessarily resonate outside the clear confines of the bench and legal practice. But my father's role in exposing the information scandal and the subsequent resignation of the state president and the cabinet minister tends to overshadow the fact that he was, first and foremost, a jurist. He loved the law, the philosophy, and the intellectual challenge. In life, one receives gifts which may vary greatly in nature, but ultimately there can be no greater gift than having the good name and reputation of one's father honored in such a distinctive way. It is therefore with great joy that my family and I received the news that the new intellectual property chair at the University of Stellenbosch was to be named in his memory. My father would have been delighted and honored. He was very fond of teaching law over the course of many years, but was prevented by governmental policies at the time to take up the position of a professorship when it was offered to him. With the creation of this new chair, he will receive this honor posthumously. My family and I cannot express how deeply we appreciate the Chancellor, Dr. Johan Rupert, and his family to have bestowed this honor, and to the University of Stellenbosch for agreeing to host this chair.
But with copyright, logos, appellations of origin, names, trademarks, slogans, I formed the conclusion, you'd be delighted to hear, that I believe that Stellenbosch is the capital of intellectual property in South Africa. It's a wonderful place. Well done, Stellenbosch. When you think of it, you have the story of a young man, University of Pretoria lecturer, from a Karoo town, a small Karoo town, eventually being listed in the world's Fortune 500 magazine as being one of the top wealthiest people in the world. The son who continues, starting in a small office in Johannesburg, as I've described to you, now straddling a world empire of intellectual property. We are very, very fortunate to have had those two doyens, the doyens of intellectual property, Doctors Johan and Anton Rupert.